3, 2, 1. All right. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Otis Landerholm, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. My topic for today is what to do when you receive a notice to appear. And so we're going to talk about what a notice to appear is and when this happens and what to do when this happens. All right. So welcome and thanks everybody for tuning in, whether you're here on YouTube or Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. We are live, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you all so much for being here. All right. Remember, the Empowered Immigrant Live is here to train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration laws and to make the most out of their lives. All right. Today, our theme is what to do if you receive a notice to appear. And we'll talk about what a notice to appear is. And my question for everybody, as always, is do you want to get a green card? Do you want to apply for asylum? Do you want to apply for a U visa? Do you want to figure out what the best strategy is to up-level your life through an immigration process? Because if so, go for it. There is no time like the present. And I'd love to help you with that. My firm is on a mission to win 10,000 immigration cases in the next 10 years. We'd love for your case to be one of them. All right. So thanks to everyone who's here. As we're going through our presentation, if you have questions, please feel free to submit your questions. All right. And as always, we'll do this episode in English first, and then we'll do it in Spanish as well. All right. So there's a lot in the news, of course. You know, it's May of 2025, and Trump has been back in the White House, and he's passed his first 100 days in the White House, and there's been a lot of changes. All right, the Lincoln Riley Act, and ICE is getting going with its mass deportation efforts, and the House and Senate have approved his budget, and they've started a new registration requirement, and they've proposed a new travel ban, and they've deported people under the Alien Enemies Act. And they've, fired immigration judges and immigration officers, and so there's a lot of moving parts. It's frustrating for me to live in a country where I have political leadership that I very much disagree with. It's kind of like the polar opposite of my worldview, and it's frustrating, right? It's frustrating. And what are we going to do? Are we going to give up? Right? Like, no. Let's fight. Let's fight our cases. Let's do our job. Let's do our job to the best of our ability. Let's support the people we're here to support to the best of our ability. Right? Like, let's do good work and let's do it as well as we can. And so it's like that's the response. And while we're at it, if we can win some cases and maybe, heck, spread some optimism, because there's so much pessimism out there, spread some empowerment in your community. Hey, if you can do that, then game on. Like that's what's important, in my opinion, right now, and that's what I'm a stand for. And if you're interested in that, hey, welcome to my podcast, welcome to my live session, and thank you for being here. All right. So what's going on with the registration, right? So USCIS has updated its website. It is in effect. It's been in effect since April 11th. And it is still being challenged in court, right? But nevertheless, it is in effect. And so what you got to know about that is that many people are already registered, right? And if you're already registered, then you're not affected by this. You don't have to deal with it. But many other people have never registered. And for those folks, you want to get good advice. I'm not advising people to register or not right here, right now. You want to have a consultation with an attorney about that if you have any questions about it. Because, there are consequences to doing it and there are consequences to not doing it, potentially. And so you want to talk those through in a consultation. All right. So the question that I want to discuss today, and kind of turning to our topic, is what to do if you, and what to do when you receive a notice to appear. And the reason I want that to be our topic for our conversation today is that in the last 2 weeks, my office has had 15 consultations with people who are like calling around looking for lawyers and have consulted with our office, who have old cases that were denied by USCIS like a while ago. All right? People with old cases that were denied by USCIS like from approximately 2020 to 2024, and who are just now being sent notices to appear in immigration court. We're especially seeing this with old I-751 denials and old I-485 denials. Like, this is happening right now. Okay? And so it's like, okay, what do we do about it? And remember, what is a notice to appear? What is that? All right? All it is a document that the government files to an immigration court, and they have to give you a copy, which is why people receive this in the mail. All right? And when that happens, now the person starts to face hearings in immigration court. Now a person is formally in quote-unquote removal proceedings, deportation proceedings in immigration court. Okay? So a notice to appear is the charging document that starts an immigration court process, starts deportation proceedings. So what do you do when you receive one of these? All right, well, first of all, don't panic. All right, don't panic. Read the document carefully. Read it fully. All right, it's got your contact information, your name, your address, your date of birth on it. Make sure that that information is accurate. All right, it's got allegations against you. It's got charges of where they're alleging you violated immigration laws. All right, you want to understand the allegations against you, that you want to understand the charges, so that you're prepared for how to answer to those documents. And really, you're going to want a lawyer to help you answer to those allegations and those charges. Sometimes you're going to want to deny the allegations and the charges. Okay? Also, on the notice to appear, not in every notice to appear, but in the vast majority of notices to appear, there will be a date for an upcoming hearing in immigration court. All right? When you have that date, you want to calendar it, right? You don't want to lose that date. That is very, very important. Okay? And you want to book, call around, do a Google search, do a ChatGPT search, right? However you're finding services that you need, find 2, 3, 4, 5 consultations with 2, 3, 4, 5 immigration lawyers who know what they're doing, and start learning what is the best strategy to fight your case. Start understanding. Go with questions. Hey, what would you do in this scenario? What would you do in that scenario? Right? How do you handle cases in immigration court? And you want to choose a lawyer who you trust and who knows what they're doing and who has fought your type of case. And so it is wise to meet with multiple attorneys so that you can make a fully informed decision. Okay? I've written a book about this. I have a copy of it here. All right? There is Hope, Your Guide to Winning in Immigration Court. And we can make this available for everyone. All right? We can have a free download of this. It's on our website. It's on Amazon as well. And we have a lot of resources for people about immigration court. And so always feel free to come back and to join our Empowered Immigrant Live sessions. I'm always talking, not every week about immigration court necessarily, but I often have topics related to what's happening in immigration court. So you'll want to do that. You'll want to start doing all of those things. All right? It is time. It is time to start defending cases. And if you're in that situation, I'm sorry that you have received that document, but don't panic and don't let it be the end of your case, right? It's not the end of your case. You can still, even if a I-751 or an adjustment of status case was denied by USCIS, you can still win it in immigration court. All right? And there are other options in immigration court as well. Cancellation of removal, asylum, waiver cases. There's lots of options once you're in front of a judge. And so you'll just want to be cautious and be mindful and be aware of what your strategy is. Okay? That's my topic for today. I hope it's useful. I hope it's helpful. And so yeah, feel free to start sending me your questions. I'll do my best to answer them with the remaining time that we have, and then we'll wrap up and we'll do this episode in Spanish as well. All right? Tumbleweeds are real. I see you here. All right? Good to see you as well. Thanks for being here. There are some other questions coming in. I'll need some help with them. Though, let's see here. Kat, I see your question here. You derived citizenship from a naturalized U.S. citizen parent and have a U.S. passport. Should you file the N-600? That's a great question. All right. So congratulations, you're already a U.S. citizen. You already have a U.S. passport. In my opinion, the U.S. passport is evidence that you are a U.S. citizen. The benefit of doing an N-600 is just to have the formal certificate of citizenship approved by USCIS, but my opinion is that it is not necessary in your situation. You already have a U.S. passport, and a U.S. passport is evidence that you are a U.S. citizen. Let me tell you a story just because you've asked this question, all right? I was in immigration court once. This was years ago. I was just getting started, and I'll never forget it, right? I was in a master calendar hearing sitting in immigration court, and one of the respondents, one of the people that had an immigration case in deportation proceedings, went up to the court and said, "Hey, Your Honor, I'm already a U.S. citizen, and here's my passport." And the immigration judge asked that person to come forward, looked at the passport, showed it to the Department of Homeland Security. Okay, any questions about this? Okay, congratulations, you just won your case. We are terminating your proceedings in deportation proceedings. They cannot deport a person who has a U.S. passport. Now, you see in the news that the Trump administration is doing that. Well, they're violating the law. And if you have a passport, you can come back. All right, just show it when you're coming back in. Some people that are being deported are U.S. citizens but don't have the evidence of it, don't have a passport, don't have proof of their citizenship on them. And if you have the proof and the evidence then of a U.S. passport, then you can always re-enter the United States, right? Absent some very severe change in laws, right? U.S. citizens have the right to re-enter the United States, right? And so anyway, that's my answer to your question. Let's see, Carlos, I need help getting the other questions here because I'm not seeing them. Let me see if I can find one more that I could answer right now here on TikTok. Thanks. Bear with me, folks. We're having a technical challenge. Let's see. I'm not seeing the questions that are appearing, so I'm going to need some help. All right. Okay. So, sorry, folks. Thanks for your patience. Um, I, um, so let's see. Tumbleweeds are real. You said you applied for a DV lottery 28 years ago. Will this affect AOS through my 21-year-old U.S. citizen daughter? No, no. As long as you were honest in your application, it's a good question. As long as you were honest in your application, then yeah, it's okay to apply for the DV lottery. That's fine. Let's see, Kenny's Fun page. I did that because some lawyers gave up fast. They don't look for answers. Look around, don't give up. Okay, thank you for saying that. Sounds like there was another piece somewhere that you had mentioned. But nice, thank you for saying that. Ludasad, you say, how long does it take for a decision after a marriage-based green card interview? That's a difficult question to answer. I've had clients where we go to the marriage-based green card interview, and the very next week they have their green card. Okay, and so that's a good question. It can take just 1 week. I've had also cases where it went into a black hole and was pending for 4 years, and we had to sue the government to move the case forward. And so it's a very, very wide range. If it's a simple case that doesn't have any red flags, then typically it's approved pretty quickly. Okay, all right, let's see. So help me, I see your question here. Can Americans travel from state to state comfortably? I'm an American, we are safe to travel to different states. Yeah. U.S. citizens, you can travel to any state in the country without worry. Just have evidence in this environment of of the fact that you have citizenship, especially if you're within 50 miles of the border. You want to carry, anyway, in this environment, it's not just your driver's license, right? It's like you want to carry proof that you are a U.S. citizen, whether that's a copy of your birth certificate or your U.S. passport, or your naturalization certificate, if that's the situation. All right, the good life. It's only evidence in some circumstances. Not sure what you're referring to there, but yeah, but thank you for being here. World's myth. Do you have any info about green cards for asylees and refugees? I mean, lots of info about them. I was consulting yesterday with a young man who won his green card through asylum, and he wants to go get married to his girlfriend, but of course he can't go back to his home country to go get married. And so we're trying to help him figure out a safe third country because his fiancée can't enter the U.S. for various reasons. For them to get married here, she can't get a visa, right? For them to get married here. And so they got to go get married somewhere else, and then he can start the process to bring his loved one in, and he got his green card through asylum. So anyway, yeah, I have lots of information about green cards for asylees and refugees. We have won lots of those cases. They are still winnable cases. They're typically simpler in many ways than green cards through other categories. Okay. Keys.C, I see your question here. Waiting for 6 months for a decision after a naturalization interview. What's the next step? Okay, so after 120 days after a naturalization interview, you could, if you wanted to, you could sue the government. They're supposed to issue a decision within 120 days following the interview. Now, sometimes it's advisable to file that type of lawsuit. Sometimes it's not. I don't know the details. It's uncommon, right? It happens all the time, but it's not supposed to, right? Where it takes that long after the naturalization interview. And so, it'd be wise to talk it through with your lawyer. And if you want some advice from my office about that, feel free to reach out. Feel free to get in touch. Okay? So, all right. So let's see. Pestilence driving. I live in Washington State. Can I hire you? So yes, absolutely. My office is located in California, but we have clients. We have clients throughout the United States, and we have clients. Some clients are overseas. So yeah, we it is completely fine to work with our firm, no matter where you are in the country or in the world, right? Uh, and fun fact for you. I was born in Washington State. I went to high school and college in Washington State. I know Washington State very well. And so I've got a lot of clients in Washington State, so that's completely fine. Um, let's see. So Ludasad, please, I need your contact number. Oh yeah, feel free. I think we can put it in our description um, of our video here. Let's see. All right, tumbleweeds are real. Thank you. Haven't applied yet. I'm gathering information and paperwork at this time. That's awesome. That's awesome. And good luck to you in your application. And yeah, as soon as your child turns 21, right, you should be good to go. Let's see. YOLO 9765. Excuse me. You say, will CBP admit a green card holder who has an expired green card and who's been outside the U.S. for a few years but got a valid approved I-797? Yeah, that's you're the person who has been outside the U.S. for a few years. They will very likely confiscate their green card. All right? Unfortunately, when you have a green card, you are not supposed to be outside the U.S. for more than 6 months. When you're out for so long, it often they will suspect that the person abandoned their green card. Okay, and so that's you want to be cautious about that, and I would recommend having a detailed and a thorough consultation with a lawyer so that they can be advised as to what to say and how to maximize their chances of being allowed into the U.S. But the bottom line is they would need to show that they have never lost the intention of returning, and they'll need to show that with evidence that they've been maintaining ties to the U.S. throughout all the time they've been outside. All right? And so give us a call, and you should have a consultation about that person. All right? If CBP admits them, then they're very lucky. All right? I've won a case where a person was re-entering the U.S. after being out for 4 years, and for various reasons, right? The pandemic hit during that time. Then her mother was elderly and got sick during that time. But during all that time, she was like still paying rent in the United States. She was still maintaining all of her bank accounts. She was, had various family members in the United States. So we had a packet of information showing her actual maintaining of her intent to return to the U.S., and CBP allowed her in. All right, Border Patrol allowed her in. So anyway, that's the way that type of case happens. All right, peace on earth. I see your question. If you adjust your status using a 212H waiver for a crime that's not an aggravated felony, can you be put into removal proceedings for the waived crime? That's an interesting question. I've never seen anyone. I believe the answer to that question is no, because I have never seen anyone be put into removal proceedings after the crime was waived for the same crime that was already waived. You have a lawful green card. You should not be otherwise deportable, right? So my answer just here right now is I believe not, all right? And if you were put into removal proceedings, you could apply for a 212H waiver in front of the immigration judge again, all right? One, you could move to terminate your proceeding and saying, look, you're already a green card holder. But two, you could file I've won 212H waivers in court, right? And so I think that your chances are very low of being put into removal proceedings for the waived crime. I think that would be a mistake on the government's side, and you could fight back against that once you're in front of the judge. Okay? So, peace on earth. Your follow-up question is, can I renew a green card without an issue or file an N-400? Which is better? Yeah, sometimes both. Sometimes both is better. You know, if you're within 6 months of the expiration of your green card, file the I-90 green card renewal, but you're also eligible for an N-400 as long as that crime was more than 5 years ago and it was already waived. So, and if you don't have any other issues or red flags for your citizenship case, file that N-400 and get that going. That'd be a great case. All right. You know, I'd love to help you with that process. All right, just putting that out there. All right, Lorraine 79, I see your question here. Husband is under TPS and has a work permit. Okay, I got that. Are you a U.S. citizen and want to file for him? Because if he has TPS, you could get him an advanced parole travel document, and then you could adjust his status possibly, depending on whether or not he's admissible. Anyway, yeah. Sugar, I see your question. I've got my 10-year green card, but I'm scared to travel. Okay, I understand the fear, especially in this environment. I understand the fear. And vast majority, right? Vast majority of people travel without issue. They're asking questions and stuff on the return. Make sure you don't have any criminal issues. Make sure you don't have anything that would be a red flag in your social media accounts. No protesting against the U.S. Work in Israel and Palestine. All right. And no evidence of any controlled substances, marijuana, drugs, or anything like that in your social media accounts, of course. But if you don't have any of that stuff, and if you have a clean record and you have a green card, have a great trip, have a great time, and let us know once you come back. All right. So, Solo, you say, is traveling with a green card via asylum to the country of persecution, could that put me in trouble during my N-400? Yes, it could. All right, you want to be cautious if you're in that situation. It could put you at risk of them filing basically putting you in immigration court, a notice of intent to terminate your asylum status, and put you into termination proceedings, they call it, in immigration court. So be cautious about that. Now, as long as you didn't, quote unquote, avail yourself of the protections of your country, which that's a legal term, and you could talk that through with a lawyer. As long as you haven't done that, then you should be okay. But nevertheless, that puts your citizenship case and your green card at risk. The best advice is to never travel back to your home country once you win asylum. Okay? All right. Let's see. Lorraine, 79. I adjusted status and a work permit in November. I've not heard anything. Do you know the wait time? So wait a second. You filed adjustment of status, or you actually adjusted your status in November? Sounds like you sounds like you have not adjusted yet. You have filed your application for adjustment of status. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you have your work permit in November, but you haven't heard anything yet. That's common, right? If it sounds like your adjustment of status is pending, waiting for your interview. It'll probably come in the next few months. If it's a marriage-based case, depending on what type of case it is. All right. I'm going to take a couple more questions, and then I'm going to wrap up so that I can start my Spanish version of this same episode. All right? So Armin Metal, all right? You say, my I-130 interview was on April 17th, and it got approved April 23rd, but the I-485 is still pending. Is this normal? It's common, all right? It's common. Was there a reason, though, that they would approve the I-130 and maybe not the I-485? Is there a reason? In other words, the I-130 was approved, they believe your relationship, right? The I-130 is all about the relationship. The I-485 is all about your entry and your admissibility, right? Have you ever been arrested? Is there any wrinkle in any of that stuff? Because that could cause the I-485 to be delayed, right? Otherwise, maybe just wait a couple more weeks. It would just happened in April 17th, so maybe it'll be approved here just shortly. All right, Doga, I see your question. My friend divorced with a 2-year green card, a conditional green card. Can he marry another U.S. citizen without a problem? Talk that through with a lawyer. All right, I'm sorry that your friend went through a divorce, and there are ways to fight that same I-751 without marrying someone else, right? Technically, yes, they could marry another U.S. citizen, but if that first marriage was what they will call a fraudulent, if they call it marriage fraud, then the new marriage will not work and no other marriage ever will work, right? And so often the best advice is do everything that she can to get the first I-751 approved, all right, so that you don't have to worry about that issue. She can marry someone else, but still fight the I-751 from the first marriage. I hope that makes sense. That's my best advice just here over the internet. And if you want to really talk it through and get more granular advice, then I would welcome your friend to call us and let's fight that I-751. Okay. So, all right. Let's see. Do you have any ideas about green card applications on hold that USCIS put on hold? Prince, I see your question there. I mean, we've had that issue and we've had that case. Unfortunately, the government has closed the ombudsman office, which was one of the ways to push for a case after it was put on hold. But there are still other ways to push the government with applications that are on hold. All right, you can do congressional inquiries, ask your congressman to do an inquiry for you. You can also sue the government if it's been on hold for way too long. All right, but otherwise, sometimes, Prince, the best advice is to request FOIAs and see really whether or not there's some record as to why your case has been put on hold, and then you can decide what the best thing to do about it is. All right, Kana, I see your question, and then we're going to wrap up. All right, so Kana, your question is, I became a resident in 2001. I had a DUI in 2012. Can I apply for naturalization? So as long as the DUI is the only issue, right, and as long as you're otherwise eligible for naturalization, do a consult about that, then yes, you can, all right? The way crimes work is they affect a naturalization case if they have happened within the last 5 years or if they make you, quote unquote, deportable, which a DUI does not, okay? And so as long as it's a simple DUI and no, it's not, nobody was killed and there was no drugs involved and there was no, as long as it was a straight up under the influence of alcohol, simple DUI in 2012. That's more than 5 years ago. It's more than, 13 years ago. And so it will not affect your good moral character analysis for citizenship. Very good. All right. Solo, I saw your comment there. They traveled to visit a sick parent. All right. Yep, I got that. Yep. And so very good. Choco Flan, I feel like the media is not telling the full truth. I agree with you. And does it ever really? It's like, yeah. How true is it that people are actually being detained at green card appointments? Like there's a few cases where that has happened, especially when someone is deportable already or when they have a criminal record or when they are protesting against the government, specifically protesting against the U.S. government's involvement in Palestine. All right, that's really where we're seeing it right now, and so that is happening, Choco Flan. But I also agree with you. The media loves to highlight things that maybe have happened in one or two instances as if they're happening everywhere. And, it's good to understand that. I'm not saying don't watch the news or don't trust the news. I think it's accurate when it is, I think it's accurate, by and large, most of the time. They try to be accurate, at least in my experience, depending on which news outlet you're following. Like I read the news for 30 minutes every day, and that's it. And after those 30 minutes are done, I don't look at it again because it's like, okay, for me, it's part of my job. I got to know what's going on, but I don't want it to affect my psychology. I don't want it to affect my mood. No way, right? Like I'm in control of my life. And so that's my own mindset about it. All right. So Barb, let's see. User 451 approved green cards after waivers for admissibility for criminal records. Can I travel? Yeah, if your waiver was approved and you've got a valid green card, then yes, you can travel. Now they'll ask questions. Right? They'll ask questions. They'll pull you into secondary inspection. I get questions about this frequently. And so you have the right to travel, and it'll flag up for them. And so you'll need to explain the immigration history, and I hope that that waiver was done well, and I hope that the crime was taken care of well, and that your green card is 100% lawfully gotten. And if so, then yeah, you should be okay as long as you have no other issues out there, right? Okay, and then Barbara Martinez, you should advise them to self-deport as they should be deported. Wow, that's that's very much the opposite of my perspective, all right? So I very much disagree with you, and I think people actually shouldn't be deported. And I think that immigrants are awesome. And I think that the sooner that we as a society recognize that immigrants are awesome, like the sooner we'll actually start getting towards a future that makes any logical sense, right? Like I believe in a future for my children's sake and I believe in a future where we have a society that welcomes people, right? It's like people are valuable. And because people are valuable, like we ought to recognize the value in human beings. And so I think that no human being is illegal, and I think that people ought to be welcomed into a new country. And that's my own radical philosophy. Part of that is why I'm an immigration attorney. Right? I'm here to fight for the rights of immigrants. And I'm not just here to fight for the rights of legal immigrants, right? I'm here to fight to help those who are not here legally legalize under the laws, right? And I wish that there were more legal pathways for those folks because they're good people, all right? That's my own stance. Still, Barbara, thank you for sharing your point of view. I appreciate your being here. I appreciate your kind of hearing me out. And everybody's allowed to have different opinions, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, everybody's allowed to have different opinions. We are a free country in that way. I hope that we remain a free country in that way. But man, I wish that our country opened up to the value of all humanity, of all human beings, all right? Because there is a ton of value in every single person. I meet with people that don't have regularized or official immigration documents every single day in my office. And they're some of the most amazing human beings you've ever met. All right? They're inspiring, actually. And I just would love to share that, with people, to share that with U.S. citizens that might have never had that experience before, right? Like Donald Trump grew up a billionaire, folks. And so, like, he grew up with servants walking around his house. I doubt that he knows or has ever spoken with an undocumented immigrant. I doubt that he's ever knowingly had a conversation with someone that didn't have papers. He doesn't get it. He is out of touch with reality. And that's my own opinion, but it's my opinion based in experience working with people. And so, anyway, I wanted to share that, right? So that's all I got for right now. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope this is useful. I hope it's helpful. And yeah, I'm Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And if this was useful, if it was helpful, please take a moment and subscribe to our channel in YouTube. And that's the best way to kind of stay involved or stay informed. And you can receive an update or a notification every time we upload an additional video to our YouTube channel. All right? Thank you all so much for being here. Again, my name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And I'll see you next time on our next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thanks a lot, everybody. Make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.